Okay.
Cool. Hey, hey, hey. So I'm Lizzie. I'm the curator of Single Zero Club. And this is.
Hi, I'm Janay. How y'all doing?
So tell them a little bit about yourself, Janae.
Sure. Well, I'm an author. I am a business owner. I love seafood. I'm from Maryland. I don't know. I feel like I'm on a on a cruise.
Well, listen, because you can find love on the Single Zero Club.
Oh Lord. No, yeah, love my family, love my friends. Yeah, I like to say I'm an open book for the most part.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's about it.
Yeah, so Janae is a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful lady that I love in my life. She's single, just in case you're out here watching
I
it.
am. Thank you, Liz.
She's
Appreciate it. Love you too.
responsible. She pays her bills on time. She goes to work.
I do have a job. I have a job. I have a good one. So it's
Yes,
funny. No, Liz
it's
is dope.
perfect.
Liz is really dope. She is dope. She's a creative. She's loving. She has a huge heart, and she's really dope. So
Aw,
I'm
thank you.
excited for this.
Right. Okay, so Janae is actually my first interview ever for Single Zero Club. And I just want to have real conversations, like comfortable conversations. That's why my sweatshirt, like, I don't care. like I want it to be like what we would talk about if I was sitting on her couch. If we were just like having a real honest, open forum about what single life is like. And then we share the same faith, but if you do not share our faith, that's totally fine. And I will be having other people on that aren't Christian, right? So I guess like here's the funny thing. Janae sent me things she wanted to talk about, and I was
I
like so
did.
excited. I was like, yes, it's lit. Like, let's go, sis. But I do want to start with like maybe a little bit of your history or background with dating.
Okay.
Like,
Okay. Oh
were
Lord.
you out there? Were you like what's been going on?
Oh Lord. Okay. So this is like couch conversation, right?
Hmm.
All right. Cool. So my background. So like you said, I shared. Obviously I'm single now, so I'm actually I this around this season would make 5 years of me being single.
Wow.
Yeah, 5 years. I was talking to some friends actually earlier today, and I was like, "Dang, it's been 5 years since I've been in a committed relationship, whatever." So yeah, since 2015. So literally 2020, right around April, May, would make
Wow.
5 years. And in between that 5 year time, I didn't do a lot of dating at all. I maybe went out on maybe one date. Um, it was a season of just healing and season of just trying to get to know myself, get my stuff together. But before that, I was you let me know how much you want, okay? So you just
Oh yeah. Sure you want to
um
give us.
yeah, whatever. I'm open book. So before that though, I was in a relationship for what was it, about 3 years and some change, through college, and then um out of college. So my sophomore year in college to about sophomore year, junior year, senior year, and then a little bit after that. And that was it was interesting. Interesting. That was my yeah, that was interesting. It was a roller coaster in that one. I learned a lot. Before that, it was just dating people, whatever. But that was like a committed relationship that, yeah, that was that. So again, that was a big chunk of my. I'm still young, so but
Early
early days,
like
huh?
like your teenage slash early 20s. That was a lot of
Yeah, yeah, that interesting time, that fun time, right? That
fun.
time where I ain't gonna lie, it was just I was wilding out. But it was a time. It was a time. That's all I'll say that. But just like that, I don't regret it. It happened. A lot of stuff happened in there. No one was perfect. I can't. In relationships, you can't really blame one person in a relationship, right? I
Right.
hate when people do that. I used to do that. I'm like, no. When you grow up, you can share. It's like, no, it was an experience. I got my heart broken,
Right.
but it was experience, and you learn from it, and you move on.
So
So
were you saved during the time that you were dating him? Or what does that look like?
good question. So, how do you say this? So I knew the Lord, right? I had foundation, but it wasn't personal. So background, really quick, my family, I won't say I grew up in a church. My family started going to the church seriously when I was about, what, 13, 14. So I had foundation, right? My whole family went to the church. I had foundation. But I didn't have a personal relationship because that's not how it was introduced to me.
Right.
You know how that goes.
You were just like following some rules that you thought
Right.
instead of having a relationship. So you're just like, whatever, I go to church. Like
I go to church, right?
Yeah.
And I'm young. I do what my parents tell me. I know I'm supposed to do. I know it's a good thing. You're supposed to do. You're supposed to go. But it wasn't a personal relationship, and so I knew faith. Like, okay, you're not supposed to have sex before marriage. You're not supposed to, do these different things, whatever. That's what I knew.
Yeah.
But it shows that without understanding, you can know those things. If you don't understand, it doesn't matter.
Right.
So when I got my first chance of freedom in college, it was over with. It was over with. Like, right? It was over with. So that's that. So, it was one of those things where I'm doing what I want to do, and then I didn't call my mother calling, you going to church? I'm going to church Sunday, but the night before I was just busting it low. So I don't know.
Yes, it's true though, because it's
true.
like you have to really believe and want to do like those steps in your life, or if not, it's just like you're just going to church. And if you're at that stage and you're watching, it's okay. Like I'm not judging you. It's all right. We're gonna get more into sex later, and you'll very much hear my opinion and Janay's opinion, and they may vary differently. I'm just gonna tell you, but it's I just wanted to see like where you were at in your journey. So have you dated anyone since you've been committed to a relationship with Christ?
Okay, so when I got saved for real, right?
Yeah.
That was after college, after my breakup, right? Certain things can bring you to realization that you need Christ, whatever. So, when I say, so my definition of dating is when you're seeing people and the intentions is that you want to be in a committed relationship, or you want to be together, right?
Yeah.
Right. Well, okay, no, it's no. Okay, just let me say no. No, I'm not. I'm trying to get out tech. I just want to, make sure definitions are the same.
Yeah.
But no, girl, I am not dating anyone right now.
Yeah, so it's like I think that's an important thing to talk about though, because I think that when people kind of like double down on their belief system and they find value within that relationship or find them value within themselves to not date like previously outside of their beliefs, then there's like these long gaps in time. Or there's like years that come up from dating someone within the church or dating someone that maybe looks like a different kind of a church attendee, or all of those options, right?
I'm not gonna lie. So listen, again, it's just us, right? Well, whoever's watching too. But it has been so interesting. Like, I feel like it's different when you're in like it's different when you are a believer to date. It shouldn't be complicated, but somehow it is. It's just it can be annoying. But I think the difference is that when you're of the faith, there's more intentionality. There's more, I guess, focus to it, right?
Well, that's one side though, because there's also the other side where it's a bunch of situationships, because there's other people involved. There's leaders involved. There's your congregation involved. There's like all this stuff, so it turns into a long situationship instead of people being intentional. So there's two types where it's like fast tracked, overly intentional. What are we doing? What's happening?
Yeah, it's weird, and I think that's what can make things complicated. Where it's like it's not it just looks different for a lot of people, especially depending on your background. It looks so different, and it can be a headache when it just can look very different. Yeah, I have my views about that, but whatever. You just I'm following your lead, but whatever. It just can be, and then, girl, it can be so Yeah, it can be different. I do think sometimes people, especially when you're like Christian, I think sometimes people forget to, like, you just want to know the person. Like, you just want to know the person. Like, okay, I know you saved and all that, but can you laugh? What's your personality like? Who
Right.
are you outside of church? Like,
What kind of music do you like? Do you want to go hiking, or do you like the ocean?
right.
Do you want to travel somewhere and not on a ministry trip? Do you just want to see
Yeah,
Switzerland? Those are the things
yeah,
I want to know, because
yeah,
like, although a lot of us, I feel like, are destiny driven, right? So we're like focused on what our purpose is, if we're in an office or not, right? Which is just a whole nother conversation for
that's all
another
the
platform.
that's all the
But
time.
like,
I
it's
don't
like
know.
all of these things that it's accomplishment driven, and then it can get into striving, right? So
Yeah.
then when you talk about marriage or dating, there seems to be no dating, and then some people feel like, well, it's courting, or your pastor arranging you guys together should be a thing. Like, there's so many levels to this that it's usually
Yeah.
focused on becoming a perfect Christian couple versus becoming two people that are united in the same place in
Can I
life.
can I be real with you? Sometimes
Mhm.
I think people who are not of the faith do dating better than Christians do.
Preach, say it.
I do. And this and then here's the thing: to be destiny driven is a beautiful thing, but
Right.
there has to be. I don't want to use the word balance, but there has to be understanding that people are people,
Hmm.
right? And I think sometimes with Christians, I'll say we, because I am a Christian. I'm not ashamed to say that.
Right.
But I think as
Yeah.
Christians, sometimes we get too focused in the purpose and the destiny, and we forget you have to live with somebody, right?
Right.
My mentor, she told me the most beautiful wisdom, and she was like, do you like the person? Like, do you like them? Because it doesn't matter if they're they're anointed, blase, 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 but can you go home with them and spend time with them? I've seen plenty of examples growing up of, this is actually why I have this thing where I used to say, and I still honestly I say it sometimes too. I was like, I will never want to date a pastor or anything like that. I really don't. I've seen too many examples where you have people who they would neglect their wives, their families for the sake of the church or stuff like that, which is, and then they'll just tag scripture to without understanding and whatever, because that's what you lust after, that platform, right? And
Right.
then you see people date people because, oh, you're this type of office, we have to go together.
Hmm.
And then it becomes just a business thing, and not, do you like this person? Are you emotionally, can this person have good conversation? What else do you talk about besides church? Now, I'm
Right.
all for a good church Bible conversation. I'm a Bible nerd.
Yeah.
I'm all for it. But I don't want to talk about that all the time. Like,
I
I, you
want to
know,
know that you can watch a TV show with me without feeling like there's a deep conviction from Holy Spirit every single time. I'm just trying to enjoy a TV show that was based on a book that I read. Can I read fictional books around you? That's what I want to know,
that's
because
good.
I am a whole person.
Can we just watch shows and you not judge if I'm saved or not, because I laugh at certain things, like it's a lot, like, I don't know, it just becomes really weird, or you
Yeah.
get the ones who are the counterfeits, right?
Right.
Who use God to get into your pants, right?
Right.
Because they think that whatever, and then they come out, they don't pursue Christ at all, right? They just do it because they know that a lot of women are desperate. But it shouldn't be. I just feel like it's just so, like, it's
Extreme.
different.
It's extreme.
It is. I understand though, because I
Yeah.
understand, because we look at marriage very different, right? We look
Right.
at marriage as a covenant. We look at it as something that is it's right, like, for the future and legacy. So it's like, yeah, you have to make the right decision, but I think we all forget we're people. We're
Right.
people. Like, we're gonna make mistakes. We're not perfect. Yes, you want someone who is spiritually sound, right? Yeah, you want someone what they're talking about. You want someone who lives a life that they, whatever. But you also want someone like, I just want to kick it with you, like,
It's
let's just
not
kick
so much about rules, and I think that so much
it.
comes down to like people making these definite rules when,
Mhm.
like, they may be whole as a servant in church, but you're not whole outside of that.
That's
And
the
I think
worst.
that is such a horrible thing, because then at the end of the day, you look up and you're like, what do we really actually enjoy? Like, right now we're in a quarantine, and people, this was like, forget your church attendance. I don't care.
That's true.
Like, you know
like, no, that's a really good point, which is why I am glad I'm single right now, because I'm enjoying my time. I really am. I'm enjoying my time, right? I'm doing a lot of self-evaluating and all that. But you're right. Like, I've seen, again, growing up, many examples of dudes, men and women who are one way in the church, and they come home and it's like, you're an ugly person.
Right.
Like, you're a straight up ugly person. You're jacked up. You're like, you know the scriptures and all that, but you're a terrible person. You're a terrible man. Like, you suck. I don't know what to say. You just suck. But you could do this over here. It's just like, that's just hypocrisy. Nobody got time for that. Like,
right. It's stressful, right? It's stressful. Well, it's like people like me, I've gotten to the point where I'm like, do I need to say so much in church? Like, I just don't see the possibility. And I know that a lot of people watching this would be shocked and be like, Lizzie, please don't say this. Like,
no,
it's true.
no.
Because I'm like, you have to
real.
love Jesus. I don't want you to be church famous, you know? Like, for me, that is just never attractive at all at this point in my journey. Because I just feel like, and people will say, oh, that's without accountability and not showing you. What are you showing me? That you know how to attend a place. That's my point.
You know how to play a role. You know how to act.
No,
right?
I don't want to be a double Christian. It's like, Make the Stallion says, it's 2020. I'm not working, you know? I'm in my house. And I want to, I don't, like, there's just some things I'm not going to live under for your pretend playground of being church famous.
Can I also take it here too?
Yeah.
See, it's hard for women too, especially Christian women, because it's hard for us. Mm-hmm. Lord Jesus, is hard for us. First of all, the church is already packed. We're already outnumbered. Okay, right. We're already outnumbered. That's just in the world, right? There's more women than men in the world. That's an actually known statistic. And then you look at this. If you look at the church alone, we're definitely outnumbered there. If you're looking at a predominantly Black church, we're definitely outnumbered there, right? And then you look at the small pool of available. Never mind. I whatever. If you look at the small pool,
say it. Say it.
You look at the small pool of available men. Then you have to look at, okay, who's actually at a place where they're ready, right? Where they're ready to actually bring a woman into their life. Mm-hmm. Obviously, you gotta make sure you're ready too. But you look at like, is everything okay? Are you, in your journey, in your sexuality? This is be real about, like, are you? And this, I mean, it's the truth. Like, you have to look at, like, okay. And then you just have to look at, well, then, is this person still right for me? Because just because you're a Christian and church don't mean that you're the right person, right?
Because I feel like you have to pick a struggle too. So, like, here's the fact about church: people come there to be redeemed. That's what it's supposed to be.
We're all there.
We all have a story, right? But there are certain stories that I'm not willing to tie myself to.
There you go. That is good. I can choose. Like, I don't have to. Just like I have baggage, they can choose. They don't have to do with mine,
right?
And that's okay. Like, we have to also know what we're graced for, right? Like, everyone, no one's perfect. Everyone's gonna have baggage. Everyone's gonna come to the table with baggage. And they should. They've been living a life worth living, right? You should have a story, a testimony, or something. But you have to realize, okay, what am I willing to deal with? What do I have the capacity to walk through to be able to date you and explore that and be okay with it?
Because, like, if you fall in your struggle, then am I willing to accept that to keep going with you? And
that's really good.
Think about all the time.
Yeah.
Like, if you cheat on me with a certain type of way, will I be able to recover and support you?
That's a good. That goes into general too of non-negotiables, right? Mm-hmm. It's funny, this time just being at home. When you do have extra time to reflect, you also have to think about too, like, what's your non-negotiables? Like, certain things like, I'm just not negotiating on that. That's like a no, right? There's certain things that, and here I think both people should have it. I think it's like, guys should have their non-negotiable too. Like, nah, reasonably, like, be reasonable.
They got problems.
Here's the thing. We all jacked up. I gotta just, someone we have to find a partner who's willing to deal with the stuff that you bring to the table, and then you have to be willing to be like, I'm willing to change too. I'm willing to grow, and I'm willing to, whatever. But as far as like, it just have to be like knowing what you want to deal with and knowing what it is. Like, okay, I can work with this, right? I can work with that, and he can work with this, right? He can, whatever. Right. but you're right. I think, if I can be very honest, one of my fears in regarding marriage has always been dating a man who is jealous of his mate, jealous of his wife or woman.
That's
The
good.
insecure type. You know what I'm saying? Especially if you are a woman who's very successful, you're very driven. You know, dating a man who's jealous of you, and then that can turn to control. It can
Right,
turn
and
to
we're told to submit,
it's
so
right.
it's very difficult for people. And this is part of what a conversation I want to have online, is because we're told to not focus on dating or marriage, right? Don't be thirsty. Focus on building yourself, right? So I've done that. Okay, you've done that. We're very successful women, and now it can be intimidating. It can
Yeah.
be, okay, well, I was prophesied to preach, and she preaching already. I was prophesied to do this, and so like they may have that like provider side taken care of. They may have all these other attributes, but when it comes to like church culture and combining people, right? Then it can be like he feels like, well, she needs to submit and sit down, and I've seen that happen to women.
I see it happen too.
They go their whole life, but then it's like, well, why are you telling me to ignore marriage altogether? Like there has to be something besides ignoring it that I should be preparing for. But how do I even prepare for the fact that like I'm supposed to be submitted to a man? Well, what happens when he is being a terrible leader and he's upset with me? Like because I'm
that's another fear. I can be very honest. Because I've seen, especially within the context of we're talking about church culture, or we're talking about just that. I've seen women not being able to move in their full calling because their man or their husband, their covering, whatever, was controlling and jealous. I've seen insecure. I've seen it, and I remember and I remember saying, "Oh, I don't want that. If that's what marriage is, I don't want it." I really used to believe as a young, I wouldn't say young girl, but a teenager, I used to think I didn't want to get married. I really did, but I don't want to get married. My parents had a healthy relationship. It wasn't my parents. It was just seeing other example. I was like, I don't want. I thought my parents, my grandparents, like, oh, they're just a once in the case. Like that's like not everybody, right? I realized that, like, but there is healthy marriage, but I've just seen, especially in the context of like church, where you have men who are so intimidated, and they take that submitting thing and they abuse it. And you have women who, you know, it's like they have other giftings and color. They're not able to do it because they're held back. They're not supported. They're not uplifted. They're not cultivated. And I was like, oh, that sucks. Like, you know, I used to always think marriage was like captivity for a woman. Like, and the type of woman I am, I was like, oh, this is gonna be bondage. Like, this is gonna be, I don't want it, because I don't want it. I want my freedom. I don't like, no, I don't want this. This is not abort mission. So, and that's one of the things when you look at, you see a lot of, you know, and this is why we kind of talk about this off the line, but I don't understand why people or certain women desire. It's okay if it ends up happening, but certain women, like, there's some women who want to be a first lady and who want to be a pastor's wife, and you want to be whatever. And that's all cool. That's all fine and dandy. But I don't think sometimes people realize there's certain things that come with that stuff, that you just sit up all night thinking about that.
Listen, so I grew up in the church. This is going to go into our next question too. I have actually never really been on an official date. I have only been in situationship.
I can understand. I can
never
understand
had a boyfriend ever. And some of that is like God's doing, but I think that at one point in my life, like my dad was a minister in church. We were very, I have been in leadership since I was a teenager. You know? So I have seen the heavy criticism, the difficult moments of first ladies, and that, but like pastors' wives, associate pastors, even things that my mom had to endure, because people often attack the wife. They do. They say so many things about you. And even just being in church leadership. Like, I mean, I've been on a break from church leadership, I want to say, for it's been a year. And I've loved it. I'm so excited, like, because it comes with the weight of persecution that is small compared to what other Christians in the world go through, or what Jesus goes through, but on a personal level, it attacks you to the depths. And Janae's been around when people have so very harshly attacked me. I am a controversial person. We know
Yeah.
this. Anybody that knows me knows this.
Yeah.
And so for me to think about adding on pastor's wife to that, it like, I'm not saying that I wouldn't be open if that's what Jesus really wanted to do, but I would definitely have to not just love that person in a Christ-like way, but I would have to like them beyond, like that it would make it worth it, because it is so hard to walk through life as a pastor's wife. It just is.
Here's the thing. If that's who, you know, someone ends up falling in love with, that's great. But I just, it's just kind of like people who desire to be basketball wives or football wives or so,
Right.
like, it's just like, you know, you have to just really assess, or even successful people in professions, like their lifestyle, their chosen calling in life, or their assignment, whatever. It brings, you know, whoever you decide to marry, it brings stuff with it, right? It's just like saying, you know, being the, you know, Michelle Obama, right? If you're, you know, Melania Trump, that's her name, right? Melania. I be forgetting how to pronounce her name, but you know, like wives who have men who are, it's like, it's a lot of that comes with it. And I don't think so. I think sometimes people we talk about the sometimes toxic culture within church that's not biblical. It's just like, you know, that type of culture where you see the stage, you see this and you see that, but you don't realize the sacrifice those families have to make. The sacrifice, like you just said, like the things that come with it. You know, and it's crazy. I just always look at, you know, people, and I know sometimes people say it for different reasons, but it's just always interesting, people who desire that, like they really want that. I'm like,
or someone falsely prophesied it to them that they were supposed to be it. So coming out of that box, right? Because like, here's the thing, a lot of people are not weighing their words in prayer, and they're not getting correct like instruction from God, because they haven't even learned how to hear from God. So then a prophet comes and says, oh, and you're gonna marry by this age, and you're gonna marry a pastor, and then they're like Z-lining for every pastor, or like your church adds a new person to the ministerial staff, and every woman is like, like I see you, because I'm supposed to marry a pastor, but there's only 6 of them, and there's like 2,000 women.
But here's the hold on, I got to turn my light. Sorry.
Yeah, it's okay. No, it's fine.
Okay. Here is the crazy part about it, is that where we've been taught the wrong way, because when we hear ministry, we think pulpit. And then when we hear pastor, we think pulpit, we think church. Here's the crazy thing about it, is that we have to know relationship. You can be a pastor in the entertainment business.
Right.
You like, you know, to have that type of anointing, or, you know, whatever, it's like you can be a pastor in so many different types of capacities. You have no idea, but they assume, oh, pastor, microphone, stage, right? And I know we were talking in context of that type of, but you know, this you can be a lot of different things. Like I just think it's just weird. It's just kind of like, you know, someone can, in a sense, have a pastoral, right, anointing or whatever, and be in different parts, you know, different parts of, it's not just in the church.
And it's not everybody who wants to, like, for instance, I'm gonna use my dad as an example. My dad was a minister. He still is, like, at his church, but he was a bus driver for, I think, almost 40 years, and he used his evangelist anointing on the bus. Like he was still an evangelist. So I think that a lot of times, you're right, we're looking for a certain context, but then what does that context look like now that we're in quarantine? And like today they were saying that they might not allow church gatherings until 2021, along with it's like huge things, right? So like pastors have to pivot, churches have to pivot, but like single people need to pivot too, because this doesn't mean you just throw the whole year away.
No.
Like
no.
Just
that's
because
actually,
you can't
that's
go to a gathering.
So what do you do when you like again, like I said, like, you know, who are you when you don't have the crowd? Can you still do what you've been called to do? Absolutely. Yeah. If anything, this is the prime time to do that. This is actually a really prime time, right? The way I look at ministry is, I look at it's my life. So it's my life, because I'm gonna be me, wherever I'm gonna be me. So it's go, you know, whatever. I don't need a certain, you know, I know there's good to have platforms, but it's your life. You don't need a specific. Wherever you go, that's what you're bringing. But you're right. It's gonna look a lot different So yeah, I don't know what's gonna look like, but yeah, it's interesting, right? Like, what
Right?
if this is like not until next year? Like, how would that look for like dating and whatnot? It's actually gonna be really interesting.
Well, like,
So
it's gonna let us out the house, right? But then the people that believe you traditionally have to meet someone somewhere, like not
mhm,
maybe online, are gonna struggle or have more of a difficult time because
yeah,
technology is really like the space. So, like,
yeah.
what do you think about like quarantine cuties and like if someone asked you like if you would FaceTime date them, like, what do you think you would respond to in that?
Yeah, I don't see them like. First of all, yeah, like what else we gonna do? What
Right.
else? Like, please tell me what else we go, right? Letters to each other. This is 2020. Like, if I have to use the webcam for work, why wouldn't I use it in my social? I mean, seriously, like, I don't get, like, I don't.
Yeah, I can't
Why
find a
not?
bad point in it because it's like if it doesn't work, that's totally fine because it's just a connection over a line. I'm just seeing you on
First
camera.
of all, the benefits is I can still save my clothes, my good outfits. Okay,
Listen,
I can still save time, still save money. Like, there's so many good things about this. I don't see. I'm trying to think. Like, see, listen, you got to be innovative and creative here. I think this is actually a good time, even if you're interested in dating someone, to see. We believe that God should pursue women, right? And
right,
some people believe that they're not Christians. I think it's cool. You just think that you have value that God should pursue. So I think that even shows the creativity that someone can have and show their interest in you in this time to be
right.
creative and to be innovative and to do different things. I think that speaks a lot too, especially when you have limited. You can't really get.
Yeah, because he could be like, all right, I'm gonna cash app you, so you go get these ingredients. We can cook together.
That would be
No,
something.
sit
That
down, enjoy the
that
same
would be
meal.
something.
You
Hey,
know,
catch me watch this movie.
I'm too creative, right? So let's get on Netflix party. There's
Really
a chat
good.
on the side so you can see like what you enjoy about the movies together. There's so many things you can
So
do
many
with
different ways.
fire
Order food,
question
send
and
food to
answers.
the house. Like, well, see, okay, see, for me, I wouldn't give my address. I'd be like, let me give my neighbor the address. I'm not giving my address out.
Well, I
But it
had
could
a
work.
friend who was sent books. This guy dropped off books at her house.
That's actually really that's thinking. Like, it shows effort. It shows
Bro.
effort, man. And it also shows, can you hold a conversation? Like,
Right.
can you talk? Like, can because if it's a whole bunch of what you doing all day, listen,
Right.
sir, we have jobs, we have things to do. So
So what
no,
about the stigmas of being single for too long? Like, do you think that you're having to fight something coming into the dating space since you've been for 5 years now?
absolutely, absolutely. I think that there is when you are here's my thing. When I go to family gatherings, or I'm going to, back home, shout out to DMV. But anyway, I'm going back home, whatever. The question I always get asked is, first, Janay, are you dating? Or why haven't you? I can't stand the second question. It's okay if you ask if I'm dating, that's fine. But the
Yeah.
second question is, why not? Because what I'm looking at them asking this question is, you guys act like I can force someone to date me.
Bro,
I, I
you
don't
ask
know
I'm the one asking the question. I see
what
that's relevant for men, but I'm supposed to be receiving.
I can't physically make someone. So I don't know. I don't know. I was like, when you find an answer, let me know, because I'm trying to I don't know, right? Now I know during my time of being single, I know I wasn't supposed to be dating. So let me just put that out there. I know I was not. I'm very clear about that. I was not. I wasn't supposed to be nobody's girlfriend, none of that.
Yeah.
But I just think it's funny because you don't see them questions asked the guys a lot. You
Yeah.
don't see them ask the guys, why are you so, what's wrong with you? It's always they look like you're the something's wrong with the female if she hasn't been. Now granted, we know there's some crazy out there,
Right.
okay, but it's like it's always something wrong. It's like, well, no, why don't you ask these guys out here why they've been single for so long, or why whatever? Like, I don't know, okay, I
Right.
have no idea. I'm over here minding my business, drinking water and trying to eat healthy, okay, that's what I'm doing. So I don't
Bother
know.
men until they're around 40. I don't know if you noticed that, but they don't bother men until they're around 40.
Yeah, it's
Have
really
you
weird.
noticed? It's like
I have.
mid-20s, late 20s, they're like, oh, girl, you're getting old. Oh, my gosh. You're going to miss having babies while you're young. Oh, it's going to be a high-risk pregnancy. Why aren't you dating him? What's going on? Like, oh, no, he'll come. Don't be aggressive, though. Don't go ask him. Don't talk. Don't be interested. Don't even have males that are friends. Like, these are all things I've heard. And I think it's so damaging. Because
Okay, the whole don't have males there. I was like, oh, that's weird. But yeah, no, I think, you know, it's funny. I ain't gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie to you. I have actually gotten, bad advice like that. I'm not gonna call it wisdom. And I think that's what, but it was funny because I think it came at a time where because I wasn't supposed to date anybody anyway, right? But I have gotten bad advice like that. And most of it did come from, I hate to say it, came from the church, where it was stuff like, just serve God and I gotta be wise what I'm gonna say. But anyway, it was where going out and being social wasn't as encouraged to have a life.
Does you think it led into them trying to control your sexual appetite? Do you think that these rules we're gonna go here? This is the part we have to go in, okay? Because I feel like all of that comes from the point of, well, if they're just not connected to men, then there won't be a space for them to be sexual.
Right.
More of a controlling versus a teaching of why you don't want to be sexual with someone.
Jesus. Okay, so this is a lot. A lot's popping in my head now. I think it was a combination of just being really religious in general. Not just with dating, in general, being very religious in that reason of not encouraging people to have a life outside church. That's one thing, right? Like, okay, like all I do is just go to church, serve, come home, and then I'm expect to be found. That's it. Yeah. I think that's a whole separate story, right?
Right.
I think the other side of it is, I think sometimes we don't want to talk about sex. We don't want to talk about sexual appetite. The thing is, singles ministries in church have sucked and they failed for the longest time, and they're actually garbage. And I'll say that I don't care, they're garbage. They're garbage because most of them, all they do is to tell you to suppress what you have a desire for and to ignore it. And what people don't realize, that makes it worse. Makes it worse. Like, it makes it worse because it makes single people, and here's the thing, the single ministries in churches, majority of churches suck, and they're not effective because they're not authentic. Right. They're not authentic as far as to human behavior and just being aware of humans in general.
Right.
The thing about sexual appetite is that we all have them. Right?
Yeah.
And I'm saying that as in, like, I compare sexual appetite to just your regular hunger appetite.
Right.
Different dynamics, right? They're not so much, they're not synonymous, but it's an appetite.
Yeah, it's a craving.
It's a craving.
Especially if you've engaged already.
Exactly. That's true. Or if you've been married already, if you've been divorced. Like,
right,
exactly. What if you already had sex before? Right. Like, and if you haven't, your mind still, like, come on, like, it's
a part of how we're created.
Yes.
God created us in a very particular way, and it's desire, companionship. And one thing that I told a young lady the other day is, like, she noticed that her desire has grown since they took the gym away. So the gym releases endorphin, and so that expresses you. The same thing that does. So her craving switched, and now there's, like, all this shame attached to it because of the way we relate to sexual appetites in church and how we talk about them.
That's actually really good, Liz. That's a really good point. And I don't think I was, again, talking to friends. People don't realize, even as quarantine, sexual appetites has increased. It has heightened so much because we're stuck in this space, and the things we do to get that, like you said, the endorphins and all that release, they're being restricted now. So if you're not being innovative in your home, whatever, it's going to heighten, it's going to increase, especially with now, if you're not protecting your ear gates, your eye gates, or if it just in general, like, whatever. And I just want to say, if you're not being authentic with yourself, if you're not being aware, like, know your triggers.
Like, you're just stressed, like, you're just, and that's the thing. That's why I told a married woman, and I apologize later, but I told her, shut up, stop talking. Because I just, like, you know, they want to say, oh, well, just appreciate your time. You don't have a husband to take care of. You don't have a kid to take care of. All of a sudden, I'm like, but at the end of the day, your husband posted that he was doing something, okay? And so your stress is being released through this pleasurable activity that
Yep.
you're telling us, oh, don't even complain about. Like, they posting stuff right now, married people, I'm over you, about like, sorry, it's just true. Like, you forgot what it was. Like, they're posting stuff like, oh, all y'all are so desperate. Like, what if you never get married and this is just the way life is? Well, shut up because you have a partner.
So here's the thing. I'm sorry. Okay, it's easy. Okay, when you getting some, it's easy to say that because you're getting some. So if you just be very honest with that, like you're it's easy to be like, because it's like telling someone who doesn't have a car, you have a car, or you got to worry about the car note, and they don't care about they're on the metro, they're on the bus, they're on whatever.
The car, because I stood out in the rain to catch the bus. Okay, that was my story for years. You don't know what it's like to have to ask somebody for a ride, but I can't ask somebody for sex because I'm
right. Exactly. If you know, here's the thing. I just don't like how a sexual appetite or just that is being equated to desperate.
Mm-hmm.
I just try. I mean, either you're human or you're not. Like, I think like how's it desperate? And I do also think it's falsehood that you think that every single person's out here burning too.
Right.
Exactly. They just think that for the most part, if you're single, if you ain't got nobody, you just can't control yourself. You just a horn dog. You just out here. You just like everyone is not like everyone's not out here just like whatever. Now it's just I just think it's weird because you're talking about like going back to like having to control that. I just think people just don't want to be real with the fact that like you were single once too, right? You were single once too. You and some people I think it's funny. It's like, and I'm just being honest. Some people they didn't have a testimony where they abstained from sex before marriage, and then now they're married, and then they're saying, well, you should do. I'm like, well,
but you didn't.
Yeah, it's not to throw. It's just to be like, but just understand that. Understand that everyone help people instead of looking down them, help them, lift them up instead of trying to tear them down.
Reason to want to attain it. That's my thing. Like, honestly, I'll be honest, I've had sex before. I never said that on any of my platforms, and I don't regret it. That's like a controversial thing that I've told to friends. Like, I don't regret it, but I also know that why I find the value in the times that I have been able to sustain not having sex. So I see the difference in my life, right? And so there should be a value placed on it, not just to please the Lord. Like, I know that's probably going to be offensive to some people, like we are supposed to please him, but that for me couldn't do it, right? It had to be a personal conviction. In order for me to change, and it was like a work with Holy Spirit as to why he didn't want me to engage in certain activities, but I'm not ashamed of that, and I think that
what
people are.
Yeah, that I agree with that sentiment. It shouldn't be just to please the Lord solely. It should not, because you know what, that didn't keep me either. It did not, because to have that because then it becomes a thing of, if I'm just abstaining just to please him, then it becomes a thing of like slavery, right? It becomes a thing of, now I am there's no understanding to that, there's no love to that. I'm doing it just like, so therefore it lets people know that I'm only pleasing him if I don't do this, right? And when there's more to it, I think that's a short end story. There's more to it, right? It's to please him, but there also are benefits for you as well. This is not just a like, well, it's just a weird mentality that can get people screwed up. But because you know what's gonna happen eventually, and this is what happened to me. It happened to some people too. There gonna be points where you don't care about pleasing him.
Listen, because
you care about pleasing yourself.
I don't care about pleasing you, because you already told me you forgive me. So I'm gonna have big fun, okay? And you haven't given me my reward because I've waited so long for a freaking husband, and he ain't nowhere in sight. And my leaders tell me I'm not worthy of marriage, and the people around me, tell me just work on yourself. And so it's just like, I'm at the end of the rope, okay? I want companionship.
So you know what that turns into? It turns into performance. I'm just abstaining sex so I can perform. So then you have these countdowns. Oh yeah, 7 years, 8 years, which is great. I'm great for you. But are you doing it because you're trying to perform? Or are you doing it because you have a genuine understanding, like you said, personal conviction, Holy Spirit's on the actual work to get you understanding to it? Like there was this, I say whatever. This is one dude I was talking to last year, and we were having a great dialogue about it. And I didn't even have to go deep with him on why I'm choosing to not have sex before marriage. I just stayed on the real surface level. I didn't have to go even spiritually, because I know there's more benefits. There's spiritual benefits in my faith. Also, there's regular logical benefits of why I choose to do it. I didn't have to go that deep into my beliefs and all that. I was like, no, here's why, whatever. But I just find it just interesting how it comes with performance, right? And then what ends up happening, especially with women, is that you have these long track records of not having sex and you become self-righteous.
Right.
And then let's say you do have a man, a guy that's supposed to, you're supposed to be with, but yet he didn't have the same record. Maybe he had a fall, stumble, whatever. You look down on him now. Like, well, he ain't good for me, because you know what I'm saying? It's like, it can build pride up, right?
Right.
Where you're doing it now to mark it off a check, instead of being intentional about it each day of why you're doing it. Like, God's more concerned about the heart's motive and not about you just doing a thing just because you're doing a thing.
Or how about the major devastation that happens when you've been celibate for 7 years and you fall, you make a mistake? Or you just simply enjoyed yourself? Let's talk about that, because I often say, my party years, I don't regret them. I love dancing on top of the bar. I just had a good time, okay? I was expressing myself, okay? So I think but that's part of the reason I tell that story that way, is so that people will not have shame. I'm not a person that deals well with shame. And so I will have these logical talks with God too. I was like, okay, I did it. Please explain to me why you don't want me to have this anymore, or what's going on. And so but it didn't mean that I didn't have a good time.
Let's talk about it. Because you know what's funny is you go on the street, right? You have a fall, right? But when you already have that performance perfection mentality, and again, this is no way saying that you just do what you want. But when you have the wrong mindset going into it and you do stumble, that's why you have so much shame and guilt that comes with it, right? And so much condemnation, because you had the wrong mindset starting off. Performance and perfection, right? And not that of maturity, and not that of growth, and not that of actual intimate relationship and understanding. And so therefore, you don't even want to admit that you did like it, because you feel bad, right? The way me and my father, God, my relationship, I have learned to be very transparent with him. I have learned to really tell him, okay, God wants some. Tonight, you have to help me. Hey,
I'm going to text him.
You have to help me. I've learned to be very authentic and transparent, because he already knows it anyway.
Right.
So to be open with him, to be like, hey, this is it. This is what's going on right now. Because I think that people aren't real with themselves. They aren't real with themselves. They aren't real, and they try to tiptoe and sneak around and think that you could. No, be real. You're feeling this way. You whatever. Just be being real. But I think even so is, like you said, let's say after you stumble, and you're like, man, but that was lit.
Lit.
So what do I do?
Right. What am I supposed to say?
And I think that's where it comes from, confronting the tension that people have with sexual appetite. Confronting the fact that sex is good. Sex is amazing.
Right.
But we all know there's protection and covenant. That's the whole protection. But the thing is, when you've been preaching so long, sex is nasty, don't do it, right? And then you do, you're like, no, it was actually good, and I want some more. So then you have to but the tension is that we don't talk enough about the fact that sex is good. God created it. It's amazing. It's beautiful. And his design for it is in covenant. That's his design for it. And it's even just be very honest, even the way that it's designed, with just the way, the male and the female body parts, it's designed that way for the man. You know what I'm saying? And but it's best when it's under covenant. Just thinking about it. I personally would want to have that highest form of intimacy with someone who I know I can be vulnerable with. I
Right.
know I can trust with. I know I have protection with. I know I can explore with, be adventurous with, right? I'm sorry, but I don't want to do that with just anybody and everybody, right? Like, you want
And
to be
unsafe
protected and
people
secure.
do that really well, to be honest. Unsafe people do that really well. Because no, I was having a conversation with an unsafe young lady, and she was talking about the definition of explore and the intimacy and a partner exploring her, right? The
Mm-hmm.
vulnerability of someone exploring her body, she just doesn't do with random people. So I think we have a prideful, arrogant view as Christians sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
that we are like have the world view on how to do things. But like there are people out there that actually have like a sacred place for that as well.
Mm-hmm.
So like celibacy isn't just for Christians. Like there are people that are unsaved that do celibacy way better.
Very true.
And they
And
have
that's, yeah,
convictions
that's true.
and core values regarding it.
And you know what's funny? Those people who may not be Christians, who have a, you know why? Because they have understanding of it.
Right.
Where you have some Christians who don't have understanding, they just have, I'm just not supposed to do it because God said it. You see what I'm saying? So where you have one might be mostly spiritual convictions, right? With no understanding. And then you have these people who actually have understanding of just sex in general.
Right.
But they have no maybe spiritual convictions.
Yeah.
Right. And then we don't want to admit, but like, no, they actually do it better because they have understanding. They have more understanding of the natural body, right? They have more understanding of their own self or whatever. And then, listen, I've seen plenty of couples who they don't even believe in God, but yet their marriage is more sound. They communicate. Why? Because they just have a better understanding of marriage, you know?
What they didn't want or what they did want. And so they weren't afraid to kind of like say, okay, I grew up this way, or I've seen these things and that's what I don't want here.
Yeah.
It's almost like I had a married couple tell me too, because I've been doing a lot of research before I started this, but they told me like they had a struggle because the woman was so unavailable to talk about sex because of the way the church has done things, that even though they were now married, there was still this kind of like bondage around it because she was ashamed of it. And I think that that's real.
I'm not laughing at her. I'm laughing at
No,
I thought of a story. I thought of a situation because it's like, okay, get me talking. So it's like, if you wild nowadays, right?
Yeah.
You maybe did anything and everything under the sun, right? Whatever. Okay. Then you come into a life where you're devoted to God, and then now you want to clam up when you are married to somebody, right?
Right.
That doesn't make any type of sense when this is the actual person that God has given you, and there's safety there.
Yeah.
Why be ashamed? Why be hit? Whatever. And you're right. It's because it's poor teaching. It's poor understanding of who God is.
Right.
It's just weird. Like I've seen posts and people say like you're gonna go to hell if you don't do any if you don't do anything but missionary position. And I've seen it before. Again, I've seen that. I was like, that's the most dumbest thing ever. But whatever. And I just look at how like people's poor theology, poor understanding of what God is, poor dissecting of the scripture. They're going here teaching people things that is unprofitable. It's not fruitful at all. People are miserable, right? And I was always saying like, that's not gonna be me. So like that's the most like it's crazy. Like, I mean, it's sad because then you have them doing it for the sake of, well, I'm scared because God said to do this, right? And God's like, what is this? Like, there's no understanding, there's no knowledge around it. So
what about, okay, so another question. What if you never get married? But I will preface it with this story that because I'm a clown. So I was at this church for a little while, and everyone else was married there except for an older woman in her 50s. I knew she had children before. She was married before, but her husband left. And one Sunday, I think it was probably like Mother's Day, and so we were like I was the only person that couldn't go to the front for Mother's Day, right? I'm not a mother. And then she said afterwards, like in the little gathering area, like, yay, my single sister Lizzie, like we're just like Paul before the Lord, you know, for the rest of our lives. And I just didn't know, like, I was not in a good space that day. So Savage Liz came out and I was like, I rebuke you. I will not be like Paul. I am going to get married. You can go jump off a cliff with that crap. Like, but everybody was shocked.
Though, right?
She had previously been married. She has kids.
That's not fair.
So she was trying to condemn me to a call to Christ that meant that I would never get married. And I was like, I don't receive. I rebuke that. Like, no.
Okay, so I'll answer your question. But there are some people who just, they don't have desire, right? There are some people who really just don't have a desire, and there's some people who, you know, all respect to them, right? And then people who God has placed that desire in them. Here's what I've learned, and what I'm even learning through my single journey. I have two mindsets, right? That keep me sober. The first mindset is that I do have a desire to be married. I do have a desire to be someone's wife. I do have a desire to be a mother, right? Naturally, in that sense. My mindset, because I have that and I have faith for that, and I believe that is God's promise to me.
Right.
I realize that my single season is only but for a moment. So I had to reverse my thinking. Instead of looking things like, and let's be real, we all have those moments where like, okay, now come on, right? Yeah. We all have those moments.
Right.
But I try my best to keep myself in this consistent thinking. Is every day that passes, the day of my single season gone. I can't get back, right? So I was talking to my mother, and my father recently passed away, so she's now a widow. And we were just talking, and I was telling her, I was like, Mom, our seasons are in reverse. I was like, where you're now experiencing a single season, right? Where I'm actually counting down. I said, so you have the rest of your days to now experience that individuality, you know, that exploring yourself and all that, right? For me, is that time's actually winding down.
Yeah.
Right? So like we're in the same season, but we're going opposite directions. So that's what keeps me sober. That's what keeps me continues to be hopeful, is that each day that passes by, it's another day gone, right? Because the time winding down. The other side of it is that I understand that marriage is also a decision, right? Two people have to decide, right? So, you know, the person has to want to marry you, right? So it's a choice. Yeah. So the reality of it is that I have to also understand that, am I content enough where God has me, that even if it doesn't come, will I still be satisfied with life? Right. And I can honestly, I can honestly say that, I'm not gonna lie, I can honestly say that it will be a desire unfulfilled, but I'm not gonna act like my life is not gonna still kick and move. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, I'm not gonna be funny, but I can still like live a great life. I can still live a great life. Like, it's not going to make or break me if I don't get married. It's not. It's not going to.
So like,
I do want it, but it's not gonna make or break me.
I guess we're different in that way. Like, I think I've realized this recently about myself, because I was one of those people who's like, no, I don't have to be a mom. I don't have to get married, because I think I was just so afraid of it. But I think like I'm more okay settling in if like I never had a child, I'd be all right, because I desire to adopt children. But I think with the marriage thing, like I've had to have very real talks with God, because like I don't think I would like him anymore. Like, because why?
Real.
You know what I'm saying? Like, for me, I want to experience certain things, and I think it does have to get to with that winding down the clock thing, because I've lived in another state by myself. I have traveled. I have went to school. I have, you know, like I went back to school later in life too, the trade school. I've done all these things, but now I kind of desire that companionship to share a life with someone. So then, like, my thing would be like, well, why? Like, why did you even put this on the table? If it wasn't on the table for me, you should have told me that at 5 years old. Like, you know?
And Liv, if I could be real with you, I think that's a real thing. That's a real thing. I've had to ask myself that question too. Like, I think, so I was just funny. I talking to friends, and I was just like, why even put the desire there if it's not going to happen? And that's a real question that I think it's a tension, right? You have to just real and ask that tension, like, why put the desire there? The flip side of it is that with anything, it's kind of like, I never want my desires to be the end all to be all.
Right.
And it's a hard pill to swallow, but it's one of them things. It's like, because I don't ever want my desires to drive me, whereas it could make or break me in anything, whether it be marriage, whether it be whatever. Even like, for example,
career,
even if I don't get the dream job or career, is that gonna make or break me? No, because I realize I'm not rooted in that. I want it, but guess what? I am still gonna be good without it. I know I'm just being real, but it does make you think about it, right?
Yeah. No,
yes,
it's real. It's true. I'm very much sure that I could recover. Like, and I would be okay, but I don't want to even have that thought.
Right.
Because it's just like, well, then why didn't you leave us more instructions about this? You know?
Yeah.
And I think that's what I'm even looking into in the dating and courting thing. I said something in my video the other day about like Jacob, Rachel, Leah situation, how dating in the Bible is so very different, even with that Ruth and Boaz. Like, she laid at the end of that bed on her first night meeting him, and that's something that people would never tell us is okay.
The culture, first of all, here's what I don't really care for.
Yeah.
I don't care for how people take the culture in biblical times is so different from now.
Yeah.
And remember, we're Western, modern day, 2020 civilization. It's hard to compare this to then. And I think sometimes when people dissect the Bible, either it can be very literal, and it's like you have to look at the culture and the context of the time. First of all, back then, they were in the even polygamous culture for some. They had multiple wives and all that. Like, I heard some people try to take them, like, don't bring it over here. Don't try to bring it over here. Like,
no.
It's a different type of culture. So back then, when she didn't symbolize it, I've even seen people even would dissect that and say, well, yeah, you can do that now. No, you really can't do that now. I mean, you can do whatever you want to do, but it's a different culture. They have such a different culture of submission differently, a different culture of, it's hard to compare that to 2020. This is why also we need Holy Spirit to help us translate.
Right.
That and then sometimes people just be using the Bible for the wrong reason anyway. But it's like
nobody's giving you a dowry these days. Like, it's not happening. No one's giving you a dowry.
No one's arranging marriages. No one, because back then the fathers actually picked the wives for their sons, right? The culture's so different, and people, I think, again, people are looking at the Bible to not really find out more about like Jesus or whatever. They're looking at it for like, sometimes people get principles. Let me look for what I can get, so I can justify what I want to do. Hey, whatever. Like, let me just, whatever. But
let's
like,
see how far I can go. Like, no, it's totally different. That's why I feel like personal convictions are so important, you know? So, okay, I have a few quick answer questions for you.
Go ahead.
Let's see. All right, so marrying someone with average credit.
Okay. Okay, what you, hold on. What's average?
Average, what they say on Experian or like creditwise.com will fall between 540 and 620. Average credit.
All right. I'm literal, Liz, so you're not gonna. Okay, so marry someone with average credit. What's their spending habits like?
See.
Okay. I mean, yeah, I would say yeah, cause I don't know. I would say yes. It's okay. Okay, it's okay. But I didn't know what. There's how do you get?
Even though they have a healthy budget, okay? Because here's the thing. All right, I'm asked this question on purpose, and I'm gonna ask it to everyone of my guests, because I also find that there are these lists of rules that people have. Okay.
Yeah.
But what if someone came from a background that they were not financially taught, right? But then they started to come into understanding.
Yeah.
And they have things on their credit from 7 years ago, that are going to fall off, or they're working on bringing it up. You can buy a house with average credit.
You can, but buying a house, they're going to take the lowest rate. It's going to help you. Interest rates.
I know.
Okay. I think that's fine because, again, if it was like out here irresponsible, that's fine, because everyone doesn't know. Everyone doesn't know that you have to do certain things. So if it's a thing where it's like they didn't know and now they know, I am not going to pass up on a good man because he has average credit. I am not doing that. I actually know the story behind that though. I didn't even know how to and how. I'm just being real. Like,
that comes with in depth, like.
Yeah, but no, I would marry one with average. I would marry a man with average credit. Yes.
Okay. Dating outside of your race and marriage. Yes. Okay.
Yep. I see no problem with that.
I love it. Okay, let's see.
Liz, you're funny.
I had a list, but it's just like your reactions are hilarious to me, so I'm trying to see which ones will be,
Oh yeah, I don't see a problem with that. I don't know.
No, I mean I'm a mixed person, so when people have a problem with it, I kind of have a problem with them because I'm like, you're saying I shouldn't be here, like, you know, you know. So I'm just like, oh, okay.
Here's the way I look at it, because I'm black. My name's gonna be black anyway, so it's
like, but you know, I don't qualify as black for some people, so it's very tough. And I'm gonna have another guest on that's mixed, and we'll talk all about that. But it is very tough because I'm not black enough. So it's kind of like
I'm not black enough for some people. So hey, right.
But there's like a dating show going on online right now, and it's only for black singles. So like she's had to define what black is as well. So like that's just a question that's in our society, because there's also like hashtag black love. Like people would be offended if me and a black man posted that. You know what I'm saying?
I've seen that. Yeah, I've seen that when you have a black man, you have an interracial woman, it's not black love. I've seen that.
Yeah.
I consider it is. But
me too, because I'm more black than I am Native American. But all right, like, you know, I just don't know what to tell people, but it's okay. They can have it. All right, would you move to another state if your baby was in another state?
Jesus Christ, Liz, would I move to the state if he?
Like you found a quarantine bae came, right? He came through my platform. He was on Single Zero Club. He was like, Brinkley, fine. Like, I just need her in my life. But he lives in Florida. And then you guys quoted, I mean, or California or Texas, right? And
Cali, I'm moving. Okay. But yeah, if he lives in a different state, I will be open to it. But the thing is, we just gonna have two houses because I just bought a house, so we'll have multiple properties. But I will be open to it. It would be a strain for me because I already moved from the DMV to Chicago, so that would be a strain. But I will be open to it. I'm not gonna close it off. But it was just some talks. But yeah, I'll be open to it.
Okay.
That's a question.
What if his culture? Because this is a thing too. What if his culture said that his family, a part of his family, needed to live with you guys?
Oh Lord.
Now imagine it's like a 6-bedroom back house type of house. You know, there's enough space, but mother-in-law and sister with kids.
Oh, okay. So right there. Okay. Okay. So we got to have a talk about this because, okay, if your mama's staying, that's fine because I'm a family woman. Mm-hmm. So my mama come here too then. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
The sister, the kids, we gonna have to draw a line right there. Yeah. You know what? Mamas can stay because they can watch our kids too. Mm-hmm. You know, so your mama can stay, that's fine, but my mama come here too. Okay.
Yeah.
The kids, I don't know about all that. We got to talk about that because.
No, listen.
Where's her husband?
Husband's there too. I meant to say husband's there too. I literally know.
What is this?
No, they live together, like in their culture, like that's a thing. Like it's okay.
You got to find new culture.
Yeah, that's how I feel too.
Now, the mom can stay. The mom is fine.
I'm iffy on the mom situation too, depending on who she is. Okay, because we have to have an understanding.
Very
it's
true.
Different when you live with their mom, right? That's your mom's house. But if you're living in my house, you know, because I've seen some situations where in-laws are like, well, I like the dishes like this, but it's not your house, baby boo. Like, it's not your house.
It has to be boundaries. If you said a scenario like you said, where it's a big house, and you know that's his mom, I'm gonna say, okay, well, my mama come too, and she gonna have her room whenever she wants to visit, right?
Yeah.
But I think it has to be boundaries, right? It has to be clear, or whatever. But if it's a big enough house, then and if it's just us two, I don't see why we can't share. But the whole other family with the husband and the sister, I don't know. Like,
no,
I don't know.
No co-living for you, huh?
Nah, I don't know. I don't care how big a house is. I don't know. They can come over. They can stay a weekend, but.
Okay, what about a man that's paying for a majority of his family bills and on multiple accounts of family members?
Jesus, these are questions that just, whoa, what? Okay. So he's
paying for his cousin's cell phone bills. He's paying for his mom's rent. He's paying for his brother's car note. Like, he has enough to cover it all and himself and take care of you. But all these people, he shares bank accounts with family members, like, so they can have one, because they can't have one on their own.
Okay. Does he have a good job where he can do all this? Like, are we struggling?
Like, nothing's like taken care of. Like, everything's taken care of.
Oh, so if we're not struggling, then I'm fine with it. If I take it from our household first, and he is not, and we're not struggling, oh, I'm good.
Okay. I'm not good either way at all. Like, you can't have that. With me, you can't have none of that. I'm not.
like if we're good and our household is thriving, I feel like there's more. And then if you want to take care of your family, that's good, because I feel like we have an abundance. So go ahead, do what you do, but don't be taking from our household though. Now,
right, there has to be a savings or something going on, because extra money is going to provide for what? Like, what's happening over there?
You can.
Why can't they have it on their own?
It's our family, because we're married, right? So now that's not just his, it's our family. So I'm all for helping family out, as long as they're not mooching and I'm not leeches, right? Mm-hmm. But as long as we're like, if there's an abundance, it's okay. I don't see the problem with that. And if you got enough money where you can do all this and we're not hurting, we're not feeling it, and we have nothing to do, it's fine.
Okay. All right. This one's gonna slam me down. I'm pretty sure.
Oh Lord. Okay.
Okay. 5 years into marriage, you have your first kid, and he says he never wants you to return to work or any creative project that you would have on the side, but only be a mother.
You are no mistake. Boy, you got your day on my mind. But go ahead and sit down. So we'll take a nap because you're hungry, because you tripping right now. You knew who you were. You knew who I was when you married me. That's what I'm gonna tell you. You knew what you signed up for. And you did you hit your head? Did something need a concussion? Did this baby boy? Yeah. We'll talk later. I'll laugh and we'll talk later. Cause you saying are you saying 5 years we got a kid, and all of a sudden he want to put the switch up about something? I just want you to stay home and be. Get the heck out of here. First of all, he gonna change his mind, because I'm gonna go crazy.
No, but it's a very real thing. Can I tell you that I know a male,
go ahead,
whose desire is, because his mother was never home with him. His mother moved to another state at one point.
Trauma.
In his teenage years, and she was more focused on her career. So he said he wants a wife that maybe for the first 5 years they can do thing. But once they have children, they're not going back into career or side hustle or hobbies until the child is raised. Now, you know, me in that conversation was like, oh, wow. Well, I guess you're going to be alone, because...
To each his own. That's his own. I don't know what to do with that. All right. I just be like, oh, you like, this is funny. Okay. That sounds like that's something that just, that situation, if that was this, like, oh, we need to go to counseling, because there's some trauma that you trying to bring us in. We've been fight. Don't play. What is this? You trying to put this on me? What is this? No. You knew what type of woman you married. You knew this. Get out of here with that.
Okay, so last one. What is the number one thing you look for when you're interested in a person? Like, what makes you interested in them?
This is really good. Okay. You gotta be attractive. You gotta be fine. But fine
is different to everybody, right? Because fine is different to everybody.
Am I attracted to you? That's the first. I'm not gonna lie and be very serious. Am I attracted to you? Can I see myself? Like, do you look good? Right?
Yeah.
Then second, I would say is